Hey folks, I hope you enjoyed those Cadian Conscripts. I've always liked the idea of a big unit of Cadian Conscripts in my Astra Militarum army. Everyone kind of jokes about the Imperial Guard as being a giant meat shield, and the Cadian Conscripts have got to be one of the best units for that. They're dirt cheap, and you can just put a ton of bodies on the field. I just wanted to bring up a couple points about the paint scheme, and that is they're fairly drab, but there are about 15 paints involved in order to finish that the way they are. And I followed mostly the tutorial on Warhammer TV with a couple minor adjustments of my own. So if you look at like the recent campaign books of the last few years, or some of the pictures even in the Astra Militarum Codex, most of the Cadians you see are this very dark green with the khakis. Although there's been some newer, certainly paint schemes that I've seen that incorporate some orange, and the green is certainly a shade or two lighter. But I'm going to stick with this, mostly because that's who I've already started with. And I think it's fine. Kind of drab colors work for Cadians. They're very much Spartan in many respects. So I painted 25 of those conscripts since very late December. Probably about 2.5 weeks work, which is pretty good. And I painted, there's 35 there. So 10 I previously completed in 2016, and I had submitted those to the PMP, Painters Motivating Painters, on Google+. And Vince and company gave me some really good advice. They gave me a few different pointers. One was that basically I needed to add additional color. So at the time, their pouches and stuff were also like the dark green. I converted those so that they're brown, so they have some more variation in color. The second thing is that they just had the white stripe on their helmet. And the white stripe is how you identify them as being a conscript, because they used to be called the White Shield in older versions of the Cadian. They used to be like a bunch of youths, I believe. Kind of like the old Hitler Youth, but for the Cadians. But the way I had painted it was just purely a white stripe. And so they recommended I add a couple lines. And so in these models, I did add a couple lines of black down the length of the helmet. I think it does look much better. The white stripes themselves, some of the newer ones I painted, the stripes not as thick as others. So I'm a little bit disappointed for maybe not being as careful or as consistent in that regard. The third piece of feedback that they provided was that they should have the squad markings, because it does add a degree of detail, certainly. I'm not going to do that for the Cadian conscripts, simply because I think that they're more ad hoc. They're drawn up, on the spur of the moment out of need and because they're required immediately on the battlefield. They're not part of the regular, military organization of the Cadian army. So I'm fine with not having the squad markings on them. But I am painting 90 more or so. Maybe it's not quite that much, but it's a good deal more guardsmen, and all of those will have the squad markings on their armor. Part of that is I don't have the transfers for all of my Cadian infantry. So if you buy like the standard infantry box, then you get the transfer. But a good portion of about 30 guardsmen specifically for the conscripts in 2016, and those were like a smaller box that does not come with transfers or extra bits or anything. So I wouldn't be able to use the transfers that I have to do it freehand. Probably don't want to do that because it would probably, if I go with transfers for the rest of the army, you'd probably be able to tell fairly easily the difference. I do intend on working on some freehand in the next month or two on some banners for Free Guild and such. So overall, I think that they have come out fairly well. They're a little bit messy here and there, but certainly some of the line highlights could be much thinner, I know. But the line highlights are so faint anyways because it's such a light green in contrast that I think it's kind of hard to tell in some respects. But I also don't want to spend a huge amount of hours on, when I'm doing 120 Cadian Guardsmen and about 120 Free Guild Guard as well that I'll be working on as well. So the final point I want to just mention is that I did paint the eyes on these guys, and I'm not sure if, you know, there's always that tendency when you're not too experienced painting eyes to make it look like they're really scared or shocked or something like that. I don't know if that's come across in this. Probably some of them are a little bit cross-eyed, some of them are a little bit wonky. I did paint the eyes in 2016 for the 10 I did last year as well. So I wanted to do these ones as well, just to kind of match it up. But I'm not really sure if I'm doing it right. When I did them last year, I did some white, and then I put a black dot. If you're not careful of where you position the black dot, it will look terrible. This time I did the black first, because I've been told, I watched a tutorial I think on it, and that's what they recommended. And then you're supposed to do like two areas of white on either side, right? I tried doing that for a couple models, and I could not do it effectively. So I did white on top of the black, and it kind of gives like a little bit of a highlight around the eye, which is kind of nice. But all in all, I would love some feedback on the eyes, if you can even spot them. I know for a lot of, you know, when you're even looking in the Astra Militarum Codex, some of the eyes are painted and some aren't. And that's really the case across a lot of Warhammer armies. Just the other day I was watching Warhammer TV on Twitch, and they had a beautiful Free Guild army, but none of the eyes were painted. And it's like, well, maybe I just need to just wash them in and just forget it. I don't know. Painted a lot of Free Guild here, so we'll see. Regardless, the Cadian Conscripts are finished, and I'm on to my next project, which is a unit of Free Guild Spearmen. And then after that, I'll go back to some Cadians, maybe more Guardsmen, or start working on some vehicles. We'll see. Have a good one. Bye.